Hey, it's Eric with HoosierCycles. I've got a cantilever frame, a Schwinn cantilever frame I picked up at Second Cycles. It was just the frame. Somebody had stripped it, but it looks like the project maybe got away from somebody because it just rusted. The paint has been removed. I see some remnants of green underneath the head badge that used to be there. There's a little bit of green, and I saw some green up here at the seat tube by the seat post clamp. But other than that, it was stripped clean, and then I think somebody just lost probably interest in it and they donated it. I picked it up. I did a quick steel wool on it and did a little drying, and then I just clear coated it, so I kept that nice patina on it. I'm going to marry this frame with this Hollywood, which is a 1963. It's got a red band Bendix on the back of it, just a coaster brake. It's all original, down to the West Wind Schwinn S7 wheels and tires. These don't have any dry rot or crack on them. They're holding air. I just aired them up. I don't know when they stopped making replacement West Winds, Schwinns. I could probably maybe see if there's a date code or something, but these are original to the bike. The date on the date on the serial number is a 63. I'm just going to take all those components off this bike and I'm putting it on this frame. Just make a rat rod out of it. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. I don't have anything against women's frames. It's just short, small, and it's a women's frame. I'd rather just have a cantilever frame. So that's what I'm going to do today. Swap that onto here. Randy's trick on Loco Joe. Use a wire around that, hit your bottom bracket, comes out. You don't go chasing them. Alright, so I swapped the kickstand over. That was probably an hour to do that. The original one was really fused in there pretty good. And then this was rusted up pretty good, so I had to clean that little pin hole. That was actually rusted up pretty good. So I got the kickstand in, swapped it over. That's probably going to be the hardest part. The bearings, unbelievable. These are Schwinn German stamped, but they're just unbelievably clean. I don't think anybody rode this bike. The grease I took out of here was actually pretty clean. It could probably got away with using again, but there is no wear anywhere on here. So they're all going to go in there along with the headset. So I'm going to put all this together and then see what we got. It's a 1963 crank on here. So the serial number was correct, 63. Hollywood. Blue one. Blue one. $179. So I'll be using these. 1963 meets 1950. Women's Hollywood, 26 inch and 1/3/4. It's got the S7 wheel set. I didn't do anything to the red band on the back and the front. I just swapped everything over. As you can see, I didn't even take the wheel off the fork. Different set of bars and pedals. That was it. I had to use the stem because the other ones were way too small. Everything's original to the Hollywood, and just swapped right onto the 1950 cantilever frame. All right, so this is Eric with Hoosier Cycles. Please subscribe. Got more videos coming in the future. I know it took a break off. Had to do a bunch of house stuff in spring. All right, thanks for tuning in.